Listen, every piano I tuned in Bakersfield
Right.
had a violin, a trumpet, a guitar, or something sitting right next to the piano.
There it is.
Yeah, music is music, and this town is a musical town. We're known as Nashville West, but it's diversified. I mean, we're not just country in this town.
Right. And you were able to go, and the same customers that you were selling and tuning pianos.
They were already coming into my store.
Change is inevitable. Like every success happens because you changed something and you it was a fear that was within you.
Motivation only lasts for a short amount of time, but discipline is what carries you forward.
I can't do this on my own, period.
Are you looking at your business in terms of emotion, or are you looking at your business in terms of what's practical?
I still believe that America is the best country in the world. Where can kid of immigrants with no education become a physician?
This is Small Business Celebration, where we're celebrating small businesses for big breakthroughs.
Welcome to another fantastic episode of Small Business Celebration. We're going to be talking about preparing your children to take over your family business. We're also going to be talking about diversifying your business and leveraging your existing customer base to do so. And to guide us through this is Ed Tomlinson, the owner of California Keyboards. Welcome to Small Business Celebration.
Well, thank you. My name is Ed Tomlinson. I'm the owner of California Keyboards. I purchased California Keyboards in 2000, I've had 3 locations. Started out on Ming Avenue for a few months. We were at Stockdale and California Avenue for about 6 years. We moved to Oak Street, which most people would remember us by, and then 7 years ago I bought this location.
25 years.
Yeah.
Almost 25 years.
Yeah.
That's exceptional.
You're welcome.
But what first got you into owning the business? Because for a lot of people, I'm a musician, it'd be great to own a store, but you actually have to take that step to do so. How was it with you?
Well, I mean, early on I was a musician. I toured all over the world first as a lead trumpet player for a group, then a vocalist, piano player. Actually, Hardy Hemphill was 15 years old. He taught me how to play when we were on the road. And he spent almost 30 years with a little-known act out of Nashville called Shania something or other.
Shania.
Yeah, something or other.
I've never heard of her, yeah.
And after a few Grammys and a few things, I think he's now the musical director at the Pantages. At least that was the last I'd heard.
Right.
But he taught me the Nashville number system on piano. And so when I finally got off tour and got serious, got married, and wanted to settle down, what does a musician do? He either teaches,
right,
or he performs.
Right.
And I'm no longer skinny, good looking, and have lots of hair. So you have to make up your mind. And I found myself up in Portland, Oregon area, Vancouver, Washington area, and there was an ad in the paper, and I answered it. And it was a music, question mark, and a phone number. It was a piano sales job. I needed work at the time, so I went there, and the rest is history. Within short order, I became one of Yamaha's #1 salesmen in the United States.
For pianos?
Yeah, for pianos. My last year up there, before I bought this business, I did $3.6 million in piano sales.
Wow.
Most don't do that.
Right, right.
So I just fell into what works for me. In that same time frame, I became a piano technician. And
when you say piano technician, you're a tuner.
Yes. Yeah, and we rarely refer to ourselves as piano tuners.
Okay. Why is that?
Well, those of us that are educated, there's a lot of tuners out there. We always spell it Tooners because anybody thinks they can buy a tuning lever,
right,
and a free program on their iPhone and start their business. Those of us that are, and I hate to disparage anyone else, but those of us that are properly educated, there is no, licensing within our realm. There is a guild, and I hold an RPT with that, which is their highest level.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you. But anybody can hang a shingle and call themselves that. So,
but you have to have an ear for the business.
I think that's a great joke. Yes. You can be blind, but you can't be deaf.
True.
Yes.
What prompted you to come to Bakersfield and buy California Keyboards?
My sister lived here. Mm-hmm. She was adopted, and she, likely the history we knew, she was a drug baby. Our family adopted her. And I knew she was in failing health, and so I came back to visit my sister.
Sure.
And upon coming here, wasn't much longer, she passed away while I was here. What do? I've got 5 days here, and I was preparing for the funeral and such, and I walked into the local store, and this is my hometown. Bakersfield is where I I grew up.
Right.
The hometown music store, was something that I came into all the time. Stockdale Music and California Keyboards, those were my two haunts. I had seen in the trade magazines that California Keyboards had been up for sale for many years. I walked in, the owner wasn't there. I handed the person that was there my business card and said, have the owners call me, I want to buy the business. And I was joking. I was just going to sit down and
This will never happen.
yeah,
right?
no, I just wanted to sit down and chat. I love talking to others in the business. And 3 months later, I owned the place.
What was the single biggest thing that you discovered from going from being a sales representative to owning a business?
Well, here's the thing. In all seriousness,
Right.
my last year in the business, working for someone else,
Right.
I did $3.6 million in piano sales, of which I made a good living.
Right.
But the owner made over $1 million on me.
Right.
When this opportunity came up, especially being in my hometown, I started seriously thinking about it. And I thought when I'd come here, well, I'll just translate to here,
Right.
and I'll keep the $1 million.
Right. Right.
I wasn't really hip on, how much rent would be,
Right.
triple net, employees, insurance that's out of this world. And when you own a business this big, they make you get life insurance that is just
Yeah.
astronomical.
Right.
You can't walk onto a school and do any work in any school here without having even more insurance. So, that $1 million that I thought I made it,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I just didn't get to keep all of it. So I think that was probably the biggest, surprise when I got here.
How many employees do you have now?
This is a question I'm asked often.
Right.
In the summertime, we hire a lot of extra people for band instrument
Sure.
repair. We get a lot of the school instruments in to clean and repair. So generally speaking, on a low end, right now we're probably at that. Probably 15, 16
Okay.
right now. One of the joys of now being semi-retired is I walked in, began to play a piano the other day. A kid walks up and says, can I help you? And from the back, I hear one of my employees say, that's the owner, you idiot. So when I don't know the exact number, that's probably why.
And if you need a new house for the new piano you just bought from California Keyboards, might I suggest you reach out to Mike Saba, a Zillow Premier agent with Watson Realty, born and raised in Everett Bluff, Bakersfield. Give Mike Saba a call at 661-203-8406 or reach him at mikesaba1@icloud.com today. Mike Saba is also the sponsor of our first Vision Your Question, and if you've got a question, you've got a thought, something you'd like to learn about here on Small Business Celebration, reach out to us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram, and your question could appear here on Small Business Celebration, just like Jeannie, who asked. We are interested in preparing our children to inherit and manage the family business. What distinctions have you noticed when guiding your children compared to training your staff and other members?
This is a question that I didn't think about till about 5-7 years ago. Succession planning is something nobody really thinks about.
Until they have to.
Yeah, and oftentimes, more times than not, the owner passes away or has never planned, and it's an oh crap.
Right.
And then they wind up, they have what we call a GOB,
Right.
going out of business sale.
Right.
And those can be very profitable. You get a big chunk of money and you run through it and then you go, oh no. For me, it's been intentional. I have 5 kids.
Congratulations.
So yes, I in Scripture it says, "Go forth and multiply." I took it as a personal challenge, and so my 5 kids all play instruments. 4 of them, I would say, at a high level, and a couple of them at a very professional level. And my hope was to pass it down to my oldest son. He became an attorney. Then my second son was a drummer. You don't hand a business over to a drummer. And then, as it goes, I've got a guitar player, and we had flute, guitars, and vocals. And my last son went through several instruments, and he's now settled on piano and keyboard. None of them took much interest because, just like if you own a horse ranch, the first thing you do is what? Muck the stalls.
Right.
My kids were not necessarily interested in working the summer repair season of cleaning, thousands of band instruments.
Right.
So even though many of them were forced into child labor, none of them were enthusiastic until a beautiful blonde girl came into the life of my drummer son. And then he thought, well, maybe I need to get a real job. And he was making very good money doing what he was doing. He had a recording studio. He was 7 years drummer on staff at Valley Baptist.
And who is your son?
That's Daniel Tomlinson.
Okay.
Yeah, Daniel has been with the company now probably 7 or 8 years. And when he came on, to say he was green is an understatement. And here's the thing about succession, handing over your business to either your child or an employee. Many businesses turn it over to a trusted employee, but as I have talked to owners and befriended many people across the nation, many of them, the success stories are when it's a family member and they're passionate about the business and they have ownership before they even take ownership. Employees never handle my business the way I want it handled. My employees tend to not care as much and that sort of thing. And so over the years, I've really developed a team here where I can say, honestly, we're family. Getting a job here is very difficult, mainly because nobody leaves. When they come, they stick around and they want to be here. It's a good place to be. We've made it a good environment. I take care of my people.
What was the difference when your son came on board to get the quote-unquote real job?
Yeah.
And how did you help prepare him for succession?
You know, it's really hard. You can't take your son and sit down and say, now let's look at this P&L statement, pay attention. And, it's, balance sheet, look at your balance sheet. It's hard to go through everything like that. I mean, we have over 50,000 SKUs here.
Right.
I haven't been a major part of this business for 7 years. If you were to point at anything in this building, I could probably tell you within 10% what the wholesale price is.
Nice.
And I think Daniel can now do that. Could he do that day one? Not at all. Not at all. Over the years of training him, most of it's been through osmosis. I find myself when I come into the store and see him in a sales situation, I hear my voice and my stories and my song being sung by him. He's learned, but he's also become his own man. For many years, they were known as Ed Tomlinson's children. Ed Tomlinson's daughter. Oh, you're Ed Tomlinson. Now they say, oh, you're Daniel's dad.
Nice.
So
congratulations.
I think we've now flipped the script. He's more than competent. He started training as a piano tuner and technician about 6 years ago. Now he's done many professional gigs. I was out of town, got a call from Lyle Lovett last year, and he says, I got a gig Friday. I know I should have called you. And I said, I'm not there. I'm in Phoenix. And so I just called my son, and he came down, and I didn't get a call from Lyle the next day saying it was bad. So
no news is good news.
No, that's good. So he now can, any of the event rentals and things that we do, generally I used to come in and prep those. Now I don't have to do that anymore. He's a quality technician. And I think he's enjoyed that. I mean, in the beginning, I knew that'd be a necessity for turning it over in case, God forbid, anything happened to where I couldn't do it anymore. But he's become more than competent, and coming in to check things, when they're going out, I'll meander in, and he doesn't know maybe that's what I'm doing. It's a joy to sit down and play it and go, yeah, it's right, and so that's good.
When you bought California Keyboards, did they offer piano tuning, or is that something that you brought to the business?
I don't know that I can speak specifically to that. I knew the tuner they used ahead of time. My suspicion is that they did not offer it. However, when anybody called in, they would take their name and number and say someone will call you.
Okay.
And so they worked in cooperation with someone. When I came to the business initially, I thought that I needed to get to know the piano tuners in this town. So when I came here, I thought I would spend all my time at work. I had no clientele because I just arrived.
Right.
So I reached out to who I thought the better technicians were in town, and so I used them quite often, and I gained clientele as time went on. But then there was this thing called the real estate crash of 2007, and
nothing insignificant about that.
no, it was devastating.
Right.
I mean, the market just kept going up. Nobody saw the bottom falling out of that. And when it did, that year I lost $500,000 in piano sales.
Wow.
I mean, that's how much it impacted what we do here. So we had to tighten our belt. I had to refocus, had to figure out what we're going to do. And so I took back all the piano tuning personally. I stopped divvying it out. And I realized very quickly that those technicians were doing only one thing, tuning. And the repair and maintenance and all of that, quite frankly, at the end of the year when I looked at the P&L, we had made up through band instrument repair and me taking over that part of the business. We had made back most of our shortfall. So
Congratulations.
So yeah, no, and I think with anything, with any good business, pivoting is. I mean, we lost more than half the stores in America at COVID.
Right.
If the music store was open in 2021-22, they were a good store, because all those that were playing the game or weren't the better store. They were long since gone, and many of them, friends of mine that were in their 70s, they just counted that as, well, this is let's just go now. They had not planned on retiring, but just things were such that they just hung it up.
And that brings us to the Visioneer question. Now, Visioneers, if you're not familiar with the way the game works, I have a random word generator here on my phone. I have no idea what words that are going to be generated are, but more importantly, neither does our guest. And our guest has to take each of 3 words that I give him and somehow associate each word with his business. And you Visioneers can also play the Visioneer game by simply taking the word fluctuation and put it in the comments section. How to take fluctuation and somehow apply it to your business, your job, or even something in life. This game is brought to you by Scaffold Solutions Unlimited. Are you having to get to hard to reach areas for repairs, painting, stucco, remodeling, or any place where you need to keep your employees safe? Reach out to Scaffold Solutions Unlimited. Their experienced team provides top-level scaffolding solutions for all of your construction needs. Get safe, efficient, and cost-effective scaffolding today. Call them for a free quote at 661-374-4234 or see their work at scaffold-unlimited.com today. Get the reliable scaffolding services you need. Call Scaffolding Solutions Unlimited today at 661-374-4234 or at their website at scaffold-unlimited.com today. Now, you do realize that the fate of the entire musical world is based on your ability to get these 3 words correct. Are you ready?
Let's do this.
Your first word is trustee.
When I got into this business, we dealt with land contracts and such, and trustee and trustor. Those things did come up. I prefer being a trustee. So there you go.
There you go. Congratulations, you got the first word right.
Yes.
Okay. Our second word is gas.
Early on in my business,
Right.
I had one of my employees call me and say, the truck has stopped. I said, well, tell me what it's doing. Well, it sputtered, and I come out and I say, when I gave it to you, it was on a quarter of a tank. It's full now. I said, what did you put in it?
Oh, no.
Yes. He did not put gas. What did he put in?
Diesel.
Diesel. So if you have need for gas, don't put diesel.
Well done. Your second word is correct. And your third word is exaggerate.
Oh, exaggerate. Oh, this is a fun one. You know how to make $1 million in the piano business?
Start with 2.
Yeah, everybody in the business knows that, and it applies to every business. But exaggeration in a legal sense
Right.
can often put you in prison.
Right.
In sales, it's called puffing, and you don't get in trouble at all. And in all seriousness, one of the things that I hated at a previous place where I was not the boss, I worked for someone else, was the exaggerating and the puffing that happened in the business. And one of my colleagues said to me, people don't really want to know the answer to their question, they just feel like they need to ask questions. He said, I'll prove it to you the next time someone comes in. Someone comes in and asks the difference between 2 models of pianos, and he said, different circuitry, ma'am. And she goes, oh. And they moved on to another piano. And he looked at me and went, and I don't like that.
Right.
I've trained my employees to be forthright and honest.
Right.
I had a situation where somebody bought a used piano from me, found out it was used at a jazz festival, and they were completely upset. I got in my car, drove to their house, prepared to give them all their money back. I mean, I take care of business. I don't want anybody unhappy. And then I talked to them about the famous people that played the piano, and in short order, I couldn't have bought the piano back.
Right.
Don't lie when telling the truth is important, and don't lie when it's not important. I mean, in sales, often, used car salesmen get the bad rap.
Right.
Because they lie when telling the truth should be the better option.
Right.
And here, facts, nothing but the facts. And we try and, in everything we do, to answer questions as best we can. If we don't know the answer, I don't make it up.
You don't
We
need
find out the answer and call them back.
And you don't need to
Exaggerate.
Well done! 3 for 3. The musical world is safe once again. But this exaggeration is also something that you witnessed the hard way, and that you had to teach one of your managers here in the store.
Kindness is a hard thing to teach. I was in my office one day, and just outside, we were in Oak Street at that time, just outside, my business manager was helping a customer, and I could see it was going downhill quick. And this lady began to use profane language, and I could see that she hadn't paid her bill for a very long time. I think she had a rental instrument, and she was asking for the moon, and she was asking for all her money back. It was just a weird situation.
Right.
My manager, as I listened to before and as we talked afterwards, was on the hill of righteousness.
Right.
There was no doubt about it that this person was a crook. I came out and put my hand on his shoulder and said, I got this. And he gladly stepped away. I quickly gave her all her money back, everything that she wanted, took the instrument in. I walked back into my office. He comes into my office hot. Like, I could have taken care of this. Do you realize who that was? And I just looked at my manager and I said, Chris, did you see who she walked in with? And he said, no. I said, her husband. Oh yeah, I saw that man. I said, this poor man's cowering in a corner. And they were up in years, and I was imagining 30 to 40 years of having to deal with situations like this. And I just looked at him and had a flood and wave of compassion come over me and realized, I'm going to get him out of here as quick as possible. We're going to resolve this. And that day I sat back and really thought about this. My blood pressure never got high. It wasn't enough money to make a difference in anything. And if I'd taught him to handle it that way to begin with, not many people are trying to rip us off. Most people want to do what's right.
Right.
And so those few times, thieves are going to steal from you.
Right.
They just are. Kindness, when you use it, you live longer, your life's better, food tastes better, the drive home is easier, you don't get as many tickets. It's just, why trouble yourself? So kindness I'd never been taught, but the more I practice it, the more I realize it's a good thing.
And that brings us to our second Visioneer question, which is also brought to you by Mike Saba, a Zillow Premier Agent with Watson Realty, selling Bakersfield homes since 1992. Give Mike Saba a call at 661-203-8406 or reach him at mikesaba1 at icloud.com today. And this Visioneer question comes from Richard, who asks, we're expanding our business into related yet distinct sectors. How did you develop the diversified aspect of your company by leveraging your current customer base?
When I came to Bakersfield, we sold one thing and one thing only, and that was pianos. Had a little bit of sheet music, basically the method books to teach somebody how to play piano.
And how did you utilize your existing customer base to be able to get into band instruments when you were predominantly just keyboards?
Listen, every piano I tuned in Bakersfield
Right.
had a violin, a trumpet, a guitar, or something sitting right next to the piano.
There it is.
Yeah, music is music, and this town is a musical town. We're known as Nashville West, but it's diversified. We're not just country in this town.
Right. And you were able to go, and the same customers that you were selling and tuning pianos,
They were already coming into my store. They were walking in both, so I just became Walmart.
Nice.
Not just Albertsons. So, no, I think that's, and the word got out. One of the most troubling things is I was called California Keyboards.
Right.
When we started doing everything, that's when now you'll see California Keyboards Music Center. I didn't want a card that you had to fold out, but when I got here, I didn't think it would be as good as it turned out to be, and as recognizable. I fully prepared when I came here to be Performance Piano.
Right.
That was going to be the name, and I'm actually, to this day, that's my incorporation. A lot of people go, what? You're signing a dealer agreement with me, and what's this? That's our corporate name.
And it's all because you diversified.
Well, I wasn't afraid to move into something else. There are businesses like In-N-Out, you couldn't add something to their menu if you tried. Just saw an interview with Raising Cane's. He's not going to change his menu. And, it is what it is. For me, having what my current customer base wanted in a one-stop shop made sense. That's why when I came, I was pianos only. Now we're piano and band and violins and stringed instruments. We're now guitars. And then I added the band instrument repair department. That was a hard one. because I had to fly in a technician that was competent. I'd fly him from Vancouver, Washington. I'd fly him in. He'd work here a week. I'd fly him back. And then he'd be gone for 2 weeks. And then I'd fly him in. The first year, I think I lost $48,000 doing this. But Mike Stone said he wouldn't do business with me until I had an adequate repair department. I had to have,
All the
everything
things.
all the things. The next year, I paid for him every other week. And I probably lost $20,000 that year.
That's progress.
And I ain't going to tell you what we do now. but I now have, I think currently back there, I think I have 6 full-time techs, and in the summer we can have up to 20 working on instruments, and we do very well in our. When we first started, the word got out that hey, the brand new repair department, we don't know about it. Keep taking it to Joe Schmo across the street. Don't take it there, and now we're known as the place.
What do you say to the musician or the parent of the musician who thinks that college is the only answer to getting a proper musical performance degree?
Well, it is the only answer to get a performance degree.
Right.
It's not the only answer to do what you love. If you're wanting to teach and you want to teach in the public schools, you need to go. People ask, what degree I have. And I've actually taken everything at Cal State you can take from
Cal State Bakersfield.
Cal State Bakersfield. But, my father-in-law says, why don't you finish your degree? I said, why? So I can someday maybe work in the music industry and be successful. So, I don't know what to tell him. College isn't for everybody. There's a misnomer right now in the world that everyone has to get a collegiate degree. When I was leaving in 1983, those that went to college were being hired by the guys that went into the tech world right out of high school. They were getting paid a third of what the guys that right out of high school went into entry-level positions, and now we're hiring them. Education, we should put an emphasis on that for those that it works. But underwater welding pays $398 an hour, and you don't have to go to you go to a tech school for a year, and there are other ways to make a living. Maybe work with Dad in the plumbing or heating and air conditioning business.
You can hire the plumbers.
Yeah. My wife, she'll come to me and she'll say, hey, the car's got a rattle. I say, I do pianos. I do pianos. And I don't mind taking it to a dealer when the dealer's going to fix it right. I pay the price. I know it's probably higher than if I had found Billy Bob that does it in his garage. But I do pianos. I don't do plumbing. I do pianos. Did I mention that? That's what I do.
It's no secret that there's a lot of business owners that are struggling right now.
Yeah, yeah.
What do you tell the business owners who are having a rough time that not all hope is lost?
I think what you do is you do what you do and do what you do well. I remember my son in college saying that, Dad, I have to practice 2 and 3 times as much as my friend. We're in the same major. And he said, I don't know what the deal is. And I just had to enlighten him that life isn't fair. And he said, well, what should I do? I said, son, you're gonna have to practice 2 or 3 times more.
Right.
And when people ask me, how did you tour and how did you get to do all the things that you did? How do I get good at this? And I said, you got to practice 1 more minute more than the guy who currently holds that job.
Right.
I mean, you just have to be better. I don't know if you're a plumber, if you're a baker or whatever, be known for something and do what you do well. I remember when Jeff Salters started Salty's Barbecue. He asked my opinion. I said, I'm not going to give it to you because we're friends. And Jeff said, no, I really want you to stop by. It's before he opened on Rosedale Highway. And I didn't like his rib rub at all. His brisket, I didn't like how he cooked it. And anyway, I looked at him, I said, friendship, we're good. And then I realized as I gave my opinions, he took it exactly as I thought he would. I had personally attacked him, and he's a good guy. If he watches this video, he'll laugh because he remembers this. I remember a few months later, and he had made some changes and things based on possibly what I said, but it stung because it was personal.
Right.
And then months later, we had a missions thing at our church, and they were accepting credit cards. And I went up to him. I said, our church doesn't take credit cards. I said, are you taking the money and then donating it back? Yeah, I'm doing that. I said, well, how can you do that? You pay, X amount of percent towards it. Well, you have to pay that much because you'd have to be doing X amount of business to get a preferred rate. And he looked at me and he went like this. And I said, "You mean you're paying X?" And he went, "No, you're not paying, the lesser of the rate." Anyway, I looked at him, I squared up his shoulders, and I said, "Buddy, don't change a thing." So, find what people like. My tastes aren't somebody else's tastes. And do what you do and do it well. I had a friend of mine early on in the business who said, "Stay small and keep it all." I've had an opportunity to buy other businesses similar to this. I could expand tomorrow and have 2 other stores, one on the east side, one on the west side. I could cover Kern County. I could put a store in Delano. I could put a store. I'm here and I do what I do, and I do what I do well. And I've got a good staff and things are working. This is what I do. And my advice to someone else is not necessarily not to franchise, not to do other things, but do what you do well. And if you're going to expand, you better make sure that the next place is exactly like this place.
Ed, this has been a real treat. Thank you for joining us here on Small Business Celebration.
Thank you for asking me.
If Visioneers want to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
Well, it's easy. When I bought the company, I bought this phone number. And no, we don't service and make keys, but it's California Keyboards. We're on 2408 Brundage Lane here in Bakersfield. The phone number is 327-KEYS. That's 327-5397. Give us a call down here, and for all your musical needs, California Keyboards Music Center.
Website?
CaliforniaKeyboards.com.
Social media?
You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Instagram. They say I'm on Instagram, but I think somebody younger than me takes care of that, possibly.
And after a quick message from Planned Exits, we're going to be talking about how to help people like you almost instantly.
Thank you, Michael. Small businesses are the heartbeat of America. There are over 33 million in the United States alone. Sadly, 80 to 90% of those businesses will never sell. And the biggest reason for that is because they've never planned for an exit. Do you have an exit plan? You should visit plannedexits.com and learn more.
How to help people like you almost instantly. About 90% of the guests who appear on Small Business Celebration are really nervous to do so. Why? Well, oftentimes it's the first time where they've been interviewed about them, they've been interviewed about their business, but more importantly, their philosophy about business. And they really want to make sure that they give great information to Visioneers just like you, and they're really, really nervous to make sure they get it right. So as a result, we have a standard operating procedure to help put them at ease. We go through and we have a conversation beforehand to talk about what we're going to talk about. I send them the 2 Visioneer questions ahead of time so they have some time to think about it and come up with a great answer. And then when they get here and they're sitting underneath the cameras and the lights and the audio and the crew, we tell dad jokes so that it helps put them at ease. And so when you watch the credits, that's often the very first time the guest is actually under the lights, and it's the first thing that you actually see them, and we put it at the end with the dad jokes. But there's also something incredibly important that also happens during the interview. We listen. We actively listen. We pay attention to what they have to say. And as a result, that puts the guest at ease, and as a result they tend to do much better, they give much better information, and the interview flows very, very well, to the point that when we're done, more often than not, the guest tells us how much of a wonderful time they had being on Small Business Celebration, and that they really enjoyed being there, and that they like us. Why? Because we took the time to listen intently, and that helped them like us almost instantly. I hope you enjoyed our conversation this week here on Small Business Celebration, and I hope you learned something that you can use today in a really strong and profitable business. And we'll see you here again next week when we celebrate another small business making a big breakthrough. Why are a pianist's fingers like lightning?
I don't know. Why?
Because they rarely strike the same key twice.
Wow. And that's funny because?
What do you call a cow who plays a piano?
Well, he's black and white and outstanding in his field.
Yes!
Yes.
Well done! Also, he's a musician, right? Musician.
Now, you don't have to explain these jokes. If you have to explain them, they're not funny.
Shall we start?
What's the difference between a violin and a cello?
Burn time?
That's it. The cello burns longer. See, we all know each other's jokes, so we can't do this.